G'day and welcome to this digital presentation of a case study, which I've entitled, We Trust You Less, Yet We Entrust You With More. How do leadership overcome a climate of fear to enact the Australian professional standards for teachers? In this case study, I'm going to address Australia's falling placement on the international education rankings such as the OECD Programme for International Student Assessment, or PISA. There has been a national cry to raise the standards of teacher quality. Indeed, no other professional organisation has warranted such scrutiny and battering as the teaching profession, as various educational jurisdictions and councils search for a solution. The Australian Professional Standards for Teachers, or the Standards, began under the Ministerial Council for Education, Early Childhood Development and Youth Affairs in 2009, and it was finalised by the Australian Institute for Teaching and School Leadership, or AITSL, in 2010. However, in their own report, AITSL concluded that while the standards were evident in schools at a procedural level, teachers were the least likely group of educators to implement the standards within the next 6 months. This case study will address the reasons for this lack of enactment of the standards by teachers. While Fullen posits that fear of the unknown as well as fear of change are significant factors in preventing successful implementation of new initiatives, there is general support for the standards. Ultimately, it is the role of school leaders to rectify this gap in the professional learning needs of their staff to improve teaching and learning within the school community. The college is a single-sex independent boarding school in regional Queensland. The new principal has the power to hire and fire, and along with the new deputy principal and 2 long-serving assistant principals, they set the direction for pastoral care, curriculum, teaching and learning, and all associated professional development. The college leadership team, or CLT, follow an instructional model with an emphasis on the what rather than the how. This is evidenced by the college's independent status, which enables them to cherry pick from Independent Schools Queensland as well as the Catholic Schools Organisation in order to implement their school policies and procedures. This, however, has created a situation without cohesion, preventing transformational leadership, the implementation of centrally determined policies, as well as the identification of school-level vision and goals. With the ongoing drought in Queensland and the increasingly dense school market, the college has in recent years suffered from declining enrolments and a subsequent reduction in funding. This has also resulted in an ageing teacher population who, as they retire, are not necessarily replaced due to the diminishing student body. Ultimately, this has caused the college to become professionally isolated, with little new blood to keep the organisation invigorated. In analysing this problem, I first ask, can the standards improve student learning? As the debate continues in the academic community about the worth of the standards and their impact on student performance, it is generally agreed that substantive teacher learning bolsters student learning, and this is critical in supporting students' academic and social development and learning. Likewise, the students describe quality teaching in a common language, diminishing silos of practice. They publicly define the qualities of teaching, the complexity of what teachers do, and the difficulty of doing it well. Finally, they give an explicit framework for teachers to guide their practice throughout their careers. No doubt, it is with these benefits in mind that so many school leaders expect teachers to use the standards to guide their professional practice and cornerstone their professional learning. It is AITSL's intention that the standards will develop a culture within the school with a focus on improving teaching as a means of improving student outcome. Leaders expect teachers to know the standards, seek and act on feedback which evaluates their teaching against the standards, and to access support to improve their practice. While Hattie's meta-analysis suggests that it is teachers who have the greatest in-school impact on student learning, this has often been misconstrued to narrowly focus on direct and explicit instructional strategies as the key quantifiable measures of improving student achievement. Nonetheless, it is with these bullets that our instructional leaders blindly take aim and target the professional learning of teachers within the college. However, while the standards aim to promote genuine professional conversations, they omit the unquantifiable, the effective dimensions that mobilize and animate teaching and learning that enables teachers to change lives has been supplanted by an ill-equipped, homogenizing framework to which all teachers are now held account. So why are teachers not enacting the standards? Eitzel's 2013 survey of Australian teachers found 83% of them thought that the standards would improve the profession. However, just over half of them, 54%, used the standards to inform their teaching. This figure dropped again 2 years later when the survey was repeated. It appears that getting teachers to use the standards as intended might be challenging and thus limit their overall success. While Dinham attributes this difficulty to engage with issues of accountability, compliance, funding, and time constraints, Tui Namuana suggests that teachers are just playing the game to placate leadership. Conversely, teachers' fear may be preventing change. If teachers feel that the school environment for change is unsafe, they fail to embrace new practices, become defensive, and may resort to their old habits. So what should teachers fear? According to Patton's interview with one UK head teacher, quite a bit. Make them fear failure. Make them so scared that if they don't perform or if they don't behave in a way you want them to, you'll ask them to leave. We don't want poor performers in our school or those that behave badly because they will detract from our school's reputation. Make no mistake, under this system, poor teachers should be afraid, should be very afraid. Because of them, this model of performance management is a culture of fear, which dominates their professional and personal lives. While that was a United Kingdom account, Australian teachers are not isolated from this scrutiny. Hire and fire principles exist here too. Both state and federal governments have suggested that schools can use student results, school behaviour data, or parent feedback as a guide to informing on teacher quality, sacking the bottom performing teachers and somehow replacing them with better ones. Under the guise of forming a professional learning community and in an aim to gather data on teachers, the college has recently begun inspecting teachers' pedagogy against the standards in situ. Leadership enter classrooms with clipboards or iPads and for 20 minutes fill out a questionnaire relating to one aspect of the standards. They then submit their interpretation to a third party for evaluation without any human contact or collegial discussion. Marshall posits that this superficial one-way feedback is unlikely to make a difference. It increases teacher anxiety and is the opposite of good coaching. While the need to improve results at a school level and indeed national level is not disputed, it is a statistical impossibility to suggest that every teacher can improve every student's performance to an average or above average level. While leadership tried to do this, Dinham believes we should focus on overcoming disadvantage and increasing opportunity for our students. How could the college apply the standards to improve professional learning? While Barr and Mellor also argue that this checklist approach misses the essence of what constitutes quality teaching, Eitzel introduced their own self-assessment tool, presumably to give teachers a sense of ownership and enable the setting of their own direction for professional learning. However, the culture of fear that now exists within the college is to such an extent that some staff refuse to complete the self-assessment tool as they dread what impact it will have on their employment if their performance does not match their career standing. The community, however, expects a certain level of professionalism and accountability of teachers so they can have confidence that they will behave ethically and knowledgeably. It is undoubtedly the job of the college leaders to ensure this compliance. Leaders need to accept that staff will not engage with the standards nor implement pedagogical professional development because they are compelled to embrace constant self-improvement in their practice, which is aligned to a framework that strips them of any autobiographical independence or idiosyncrasy. It is more likely to be effective if leadership switch from their instructional rhetoric to a more widely shared distributed approach to leading professional development. Leadership has a greater influence on schools and students when it is widely distributed. This supports the common sense view that enhancing leadership capacity in this way is likely to be more effective than relying only on singular leadership. By distributing the onus of implementation to subject-specific groups, we create an environment where heads of faculties can encourage teachers to consider students rather than themselves. By introducing the standards in terms of student perspective, we generate stimulus which helps teachers to focus on teaching and learning in relation to the content. When teachers have an opportunity to reflect on their teaching, push the boundaries in ways that will re-energize their teaching on their terms rather than having change imposed on them. Cultivating reflectivity and enthusiasm will generate collegial discussion and a dynamic environment where staff are not afraid to explore, be asked hard questions about their practice, and look for areas of growth. School leadership has a nurturing role to play in addressing how the standards are met within the college, and it will be their approach which ultimately enables or disables teachers' engagement. To their credit, leadership have now ensured that the 2020 timetable has given 2 periods of fortnight for professional learning and data analysis to help teachers navigate this in their already burgeoning workload. In conclusion, defining professional standards in high status can downgrade the equally important emotional dimension of teachers' work in terms of being passionate about teaching and caring for students' learning and lives. AITSL would like teachers to consider the following points. The expected levels of enactment and engagement within the standards. How can teachers build the standards into their professional learning plans? How can teachers be encouraged to experiment with and share different uses of the standards in performance development processes? How could beginning teachers' higher knowledge and engagement with the standards be harnessed to build the knowledge of other staff? And how could teachers in secondary schools be encouraged to engage more intensively with the standards? With these points under consideration, then, leaders need to walk this journey with their staff, creating a shared vision for professional learning to demonstrate that their motives can be trusted. Through servant leadership, CLT can model working for the college rather than working for themselves, and do as I do rather than do as I say. By giving teachers time within their hours of duty to recognise the imperative for change without overburdening them. Cunningly, with professional learning now on the clock, they also have the ability to push staff at times too. Plus, it demonstrates that leadership place a high value on teacher learning and expect staff to engage in professional development activities. with emphasis on faculty collaboration, individualised teachers, equity, and the building of trust, the college will be well placed to engage with the standards and improve student outcomes. In order to address professional learning at the college, it is recommended that 1. The college develop a shared vision for professional learning, that all staff need to be involved in the development and enrichment of this vision, that it is flexible enough to accommodate further change, and that it accommodates strategic networking to enable staff to build capacity and to challenge others. Secondly, distributed leadership is employed to promote improvement through change by encouraging others to lead the implementation of the standards, to work towards high quality outcomes for student learning, to invite individual and creative ways of addressing the standards. Finally, it's recommended that the college nurture a trusting, reflective, and evaluative culture that challenges beliefs and practices, enables staff to engage in rigorous intellectual debate, asking hard questions, and builds staff understanding and enhances their capacity to be challenged and to be challenged by others in the college. This concludes my presentation. The following slides are a list of references that I've used to complete this assignment. These references can also be found on my digital submission. Thank you very much.